Welcome to our Backyard Brothers podcast. We didn't talk about this offline just now, but let me say that this will probably be our last podcast of the year. I don't know if we'll. I know we're not meeting next week. We probably won't meet the week after as well for the holiday. That's what we did last year: is take these 2 weeks off. Don't know if that's the way we want to do it or not, but I know we won't be meeting next week at least. But we'll talk about the week after later, but could be our last podcast of 2024. We'll see about that. We have a couple of games ongoing right now. We'll talk about mainly college football later on, but right now we have the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl going on, where Sam Houston is leading by 11 right now at about halftime, I think. So, and then Thursday night football tied game between the Broncos and Chargers. So two games going on right now. We're going to talk about a memory first from Cody. So, Cody, go ahead.
All right. Well, in honor of college football playoff coming up this weekend, starting tomorrow, everyone knows we've had the expansion. So obviously, there's going to be several more teams in the playoffs this year that have never been to the college football playoff, which is super exciting. It's awesome. As a honorary mention, I guess I could say is a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 now. I'm not sure. Cincinnati was the first Group of Five team to get in the college football playoff, which was awesome to see. And then I think it was a year or two later. I might have my timeline mixed up, which is where I'm going to be focusing on tonight. And that's when TCU, Horned Frogs, just had a magical season. Went 13-1, I think. Yeah, 13-1. Lost their. Did they know they won their conference championship game, I think, and they went to the playoff, and they were matched up against, excuse me, they were matched up against Michigan in the college football playoff, which everyone, I think we were even saying in our group at the time, TCU doesn't have a chance. That's what everyone was saying. There's no way this is going to be a 45-7 blowout game. Michigan takes it, all that stuff, and well, it ended up being a 51-45 score, TCU winning it. These are players like Max Duggan, if I'm saying that right, Max Duggan, who I think is might be on a practice squad right now. Um, Quentin Johnston, who's actually playing right now with the Chargers. But the main key one that brought TCU all the way was really the running back, Demercado, if I'm saying that right. 17 carries for 150 yards. He ran 8.80 carry that night with the touchdown. So fun game, electric shootout, powerful, all that fun stuff. TCU went on to go do a national championship against Georgia, got blown out in that one, 65-7. And as my last thought before I hand it off to you guys about this memory was, a lot of people were saying like, oh, see, talking about TCU against Georgia. I hope that the playoff committee learned their lesson from this. My thought was there is no lesson to be learned. It's that you gave a team who earned their opportunity a chance, and they went on and they played their best shot, and they lost to a good team. That's all that happened. There was no lesson to be learned. And they also proved that they can, go against a team like Michigan, which was a very similar team to go on to win the national championship the next year. I'll put up there and let's have your guys' memories about this game or anything similar to it. Maybe something you're excited about coming up this weekend.
Yeah, TCU started that game off perfectly. The first score was a pick six from TCU. They had a 41-yard pick six to go up 7-0, and then they scored again and ended the first quarter up 14-0. And at one point they were up 21-3 in that game, and then Michigan woke up. And at that point, obviously, it was back and forth. If Michigan didn't play that way, the way that they did in the first quarter, they probably win that game. But the way that TCU jumped on them in that first quarter and kept the momentum going was a really fun game to watch, and one of the most explosive and wild, certainly college football playoff games we've seen. And so, yeah, good pick. That was a fun game, and it was crazy third quarter. I think there were 44 points total scored in that third quarter. Just back and forth. There were like 7 total touchdowns that one quarter, just back and forth. It was fun. So who's up?
Go ahead, Yancey, if you have anything.
Sure. I think great choice with the playoffs coming up for sure. And I think that's kind of what draws everybody to sports in general is that chance of the underdog getting the win. You know what I mean? Whether it's your team or not, it even hurts less, I think, when an underdog beats the big team because it's not as expected. It's just like, it wasn't our day that time. Specifically, if for that game, the pick six really did, I think, help set the tone for TCU to be able to tolerate the kind of firepower that was presented to them by Michigan in that game. And just a great job for the defense to step up and really just keep it out of reach, even though it was a close game. I think that the initial pick six is what messes up the football math for Michigan and sets them apart enough to not be able to make that comeback. So good pick. And Dustin.
Yeah, I was thinking, how we've gotten to where we are right now is, this is part of this game helped to push that agenda even more, right? That it needed the college football playoff to expand because there are teams that deserve to be there. 4 isn't enough. And I think that this win by TCU helped to say, hey, like we need to give if you're a college football team, you need a chance, and I think that's more of an opportunity now. So not quite there. We may talk about that later, but definitely more of an opportunity now.
Nice memory, Cody. Okay, we have a couple of minutes, if we could phrase it that way. Let's start with a basketball minute. I'm just going to turn it over to Dustin immediately because I think Dustin's leading this one.
Yeah, 2 things to bring up. So the NBA Cup, the NBA in-season tournament, concluded this past week with the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA in-season tournament. Which, if Doc Rivers is good at anything, it's winning pointless tournaments.
Yeah.
So he won last year with I forget where he was, but anyway. Yeah, so the Milwaukee Bucks win the in-season tournament, which means the players get a little bonus paycheck and a little bit of little breather near the end of the season. But second thing to talk about is last week the NBA announced a new format to their All-Star game. A format that I like. I don't think it fixes all of the problems, but I like it more than the old format. So I'll explain a little bit, and then we can discuss and get your thoughts. So just like previous, there's going to be 12 players chosen from each conference as All-Stars. And so this is voted on by media and also by fans. And 12 players from each conference will be chosen to be the All-Stars. This happens, second week of February usually. Second or third week of February. And what's going to happen is they also, in previous years, have done what's called a Rising Stars game, which is rookies and sophomore players, second-year players, also get selected, the best of those two, to play in a game. Now, what's going to happen is these 24 all-star players are going to be split up into 3 teams of 8 players each captained by Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith. And then the 4th team is made up of 8 of the best Rising Stars players that are chosen from them, and there'll be a tournament. Teams will play against each other. First team to 40 points wins, and then the winners of those 2 will play against each other. First team to 40 points wins. I like the format. To give my thought on that, I like the format. It provides more competition. It provides an opportunity to see these young rookies and second-year players that you like to go up against all-stars in a different in a format that's truly more head-to-head, as well as you still get to see your favorite players play. And so I'm a fan of the change. I don't think it fixes all of the problems with competitiveness, but I think it's an improvement on previous years. Any thoughts or reactions to that or anything else?
I love my favorite aspect of that whole thing is the first to 40 points. I love that. And the reason, because I think last year's All-Star game was almost 200 to 170, something like that. Like zero defense, like no defense happening whatsoever. And now you're putting a cap on it. You're saying first team that gets to 40 wins. That means you better stop the other team from scoring 40 before you do. And so there's a defensive aspect to the All-Star game that has been missing since I've been born. There's been no defense for an all-star game, and I love that aspect. The tournament thing, I do like the idea that we're getting down to 8 players, because previously it was, what was it? It was 12 per team, and so some of the all-stars were just all-stars in name and would get like 5 minutes. And so having 8 players, they're all going to play significant minutes, and so I like that aspect of it as well. I think this fixes a lot. Like you said, Dustin, we'll see exactly how much it does fix, but I like this format as a general rule.
Seems kind of like a way, like almost like a Pro Bowl games, kind of like trying to fix a, draw more attention. Is that kind of what this is, like a Pro Bowl kind of event? Is that kind of what it is?
It's smarter than the Pro Bowl in that you're not playing golf.
Right.
But it is, and there's always been an all-star weekend. So the dunk contest, the 3-point contest all happen at the same time. There are skill challenges, where certain players got to throw it through a hoop and make a layup and pass and all that stuff. And so all that happens at the same time, and it's all great. And there's a big event, and they pause the season for a week in order to have this happening on like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the final game on Sunday being the All-Star game. Which will now be this tournament. So it's always been this games weekend that's a pause to the season to recognize the best players from that season so far.
I definitely like the idea of the rookies, sophomore players. Kind of it's a cool idea.
Yeah, but there's been times where rookie or sophomore player has been an all-star. I think just last year, 2 years ago, when Benyama was an all-star, and he was deserving of it.
Agreed. I think that the changes proposed in theory are really good changes that'll kind of invite more competition in the All-Star game. I think we want these guys to compete. That's what they're there for. They're supposed to be the best athletes at what they're doing. And so when you watch them kind of, half step into it, it's not very exciting for us as fans. And so I think that as a consumer of the sport, I think that that's a move in the right direction and kind of a nod to us, like, hey, we get it. This is what we're trying to do to fix the perceived problem. So I'm kind of on the bandwagon with you guys as far as I can tell, and as far as has been expressed. I think that it is a good change to what was an otherwise uncared about sporting event. You know what I mean? As far as the All-Star game itself wasn't that exciting because it's guys taking shots undefended. You know what I mean? And so we might as well just rewatch the 3-point contest or whatever it is. And yeah, that would kind of be my summary of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what you mentioned has helped drive these changes, is that more people were watching 3-point and dunk contest than they were the All-Star game.
It felt more exciting to me, you know what I mean? Because you get to watch a few people display their talent one at a time and focus on them and watch what they're doing, as opposed to, it being really busy with all 10 guys barely trying.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed. Okay. Moving along, we now have a combat sports minute. Yancey.
Yeah, just want to give basically a quick shout out and mention and see if anybody's interested in the Oleksandr Usyk versus Tyson Fury 2 fight that's coming up on the 20th of December. I think that's tomorrow, basically, right? And the first fight, Fury actually lost to Usyk. Usyk had an excellent game plan that he was able to execute. A lot of times, you're not going to see a giant versus a regular-ish sized human. And that's literally what you're looking at when you're talking about Tyson Fury. A guy's 6'9", over 300 pounds, I want to say. And Usyk is maybe 6'2", if I was
It says
to
he's 6'3".
6'3". Okay, so I'm bigger than the guy fighting a guy that's 6'9". Just to put it plainly, probably not as like weight, and I'm certainly not as muscular as Usyk. But it was super impressive to watch the way that Usyk was able to trap Tyson into throwing more looping outside punches that he could get underneath and then throw his own shots. And I'm really excited to see how Tyson Fury is going to compensate for that, because anytime I've ever seen Tyson Fury challenged, he's come back with a game plan, i.e. the Deontay Wilder trilogy, that has surpassed his last fight by, the performance was better each time he fought that person again. So I'm excited to see what happens in this fight.
What platform is it on? Where can we watch? Is it pay-per-view only?
No one's paying me to tell people that, so I'd have to Google it.
I was going to ask, is Tyson Fury like a veteran of a fighter? Is he well known, been fighting for a long time? Because his name sounds really familiar to me.
He was the unified, undisputed lineal heavyweight champion. I don't know if I just spoke Chinese to you because I just said a bunch of fancy words. But basically, boxing is screwed up. It has like 4 different organizations that tell you who the champs are and what the ranking system is. WBO, IBF, there are 4 different organizations. If you get them to all agree that you are the champion, you're the undisputed champion of that weight class. And the lineal heavyweight champion, it just has to do with, was there a person in between you holding the belt? Like if you took a break or not, if that streak was unbroken. Because there's cases where a guy will win and then not fight for 2 years. Someone has to step in to be an interim champion, and that breaks the lineage of the belt. I don't know if I'm explaining that well. But to simplify and answer, I love talking about combat sports, love teaching about it. To simplify and answer your question, super well known. He beat the other giants, the Klitschko brothers. He beat Vladimir back in the the mid-aughts, the mid-2000, like 2010, something like that. Beat Klitschko, beat Deontay Wilder after coming back from a 4-year break, which hasn't been done for anybody. Wilder had beaten everybody he had faced 44 times in a row with knockouts, 42 of the times. And then Tyson Fury put on a boxing masterclass against him 3 times in a row. But yeah, he's world renowned as a boxing aficionado, and he happens to be a literal giant of a man.
By the way, it is available on pay-per-view on DAZN, TNT Sports Box Office, or Sky Sports Box Office. So, also,
you didn't get this from me. If you type in Usyk Fury 2 on YouTube when it comes on, someone will have that fight available.
I'm sure they will. Yeah. And I'm not very familiar with combat sports, as I've said several times, but looking at this last fight between these two, it was as close as they come between these two last time. I mean, at least by the total scores, it was split decision, right? And so 2-1 by the judges, and all of the scores were very very close. It was like within a point or two on each way. And so, again, that's coming from someone who doesn't understand what I just said. So maybe I'm wrong, but looking at the scores and that it was split decision, you know.
Fair play to Scott for saying that. Usyk dominated the late
Okay.
rounds and put more damage on Fury than we had seen anybody do, and also set him down twice in the fight. So I would have given a unanimous decision to Usyk if possible, but I'm not three people, and that's the only reason it was a split decision, because two judges said Usyk had won, and one judge had said that Tyson Fury did enough to win that fight.
Okay, great. Okay, moving along to an NFL minute. Well, like I said, the majority of what we're going to be talking about today is college football. Excuse me. But let's talk about NFL. We have 3 weeks left in the regular season. We know some things. Some teams have clinched their divisions. I think there's 3 teams in the AFC that have all clinched their divisions: the Chiefs, the Texans, and the Bills. Chiefs, Texans, and Bills have all clinched their divisions in the AFC. In the NFC, I think everything is still up in the air. So that's pretty fun. A lot of fun things could happen. The Lions lost last week, and we talked about our philosophy changes, or our philosophy differences last week. Dan Campbell was once again very, very aggressive in trying to come back. They played the Bills. It was a crazy back and forth, 48-42 score, crazy game. Dan Campbell went for an onside kick with 10 minutes left in the game after getting within a score, and that onside kick was returned down to the 1 yard line. And so it just happens. Again, neither a defense could stop the offense, but I disagreed personally with that particular call to kick to kick the onside kick. There's a case that could be made that says if you know they're going to score, you might as well let them score as quick as possible if you can't stop them. But get the ball back. But still, I would have kicked it deep.
Wasn't that the Mud Dogs and Waterboy? They had that theory.
Oh. That's right.
Just kick them the ball. Our defense will do all the work.
Yeah. But now you've got 3 teams in the NFC. This is all I'm going to talk about. Then I'll turn it over to anyone else who wants to talk about the NFC, NFL. 3 teams in the NFC who all have the exact same record right now, and a big record. Lions, Vikings, and Eagles all are 12-2 right now, and that means all 3 of them are fighting for the top seed. And what's crazy is 2 of them are in the same division. So one of those teams could win the division, and the other team is going to be like a 14-3 5 seed, and have to go play on the road, and make it very difficult for either the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or Los Angeles Rams or Seattle Seahawks. Whoever's going to get that 4 seed is going to have a tough game hosting either the Vikings or the Lions in that case. So, yeah, just it's ending up crazy in the NFC as usual. AFC is a lot more by the numbers, but still don't know who the wild card teams are going to be over there yet.
There's just so much craziness with the NFC West. And that's the first thing I'll start with. And it was crazier when it was all 4 teams were neck and neck for half the season. And now it's, really just Seattle and Los Angeles right now. Los Angeles being a game ahead. But if I understand correctly, at least for Seattle, they still control their destiny. They just have to win the last game. I believe that's correct.
Well, right now they have the same record, but the Rams have the tiebreaker because they beat Seattle earlier in the season.
But if Seattle beats the Rams in the last game, then Seattle would get.
As long as they have the same record in the next 2 games.
Correct. Yeah. If they win, if both teams win out, well, if you know what I'm saying, if they win the next 2 games, then Seattle beats the Rams the last game, Seattle gets that.
Right.
So,
If they both win the next 2 games, the winner of that game wins the division. That's correct.
right.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, it would have been easier to have Seattle beat the Packers, but we knew that wasn't going to happen. So
Then they play the Vikings this week. Seattle
I
does.
know, it's
So,
even harder, and the Rams have the
Ouch.
easiest schedule, it seems, right now.
Mhm.
So
yeah.
the second thing I want to talk about real quick was Kirk Cousins getting benched.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins has been benched with after making what $300 million or something in his career or something. So, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I don't love it because I mean, yes, I still believe he's a good quarterback. He's never been elite. He never would be. But I don't think Penix is gonna do much more, at least the rest of the season. So.
Yeah, maybe not. But Cousins has been historically awful in the last 5 games. He has a total of 1 touchdown pass and 9 interceptions in the last 5 games.
Mm.
So
Ouch.
that's awful.
That hurts my confidence over here, and I'm not even playing.
So, yeah. So
Yeah,
Never mind.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's a reasonable choice.
yeah, he's been struggling. It's he leads the league in interceptions, and he's not far down the list of most times sacked. And so he's been struggling. Kirk Cousins has always been a highly sacked quarterback. That's nothing different. But the interceptions is much higher than average and struggling to win games.
Yeah. And if I remember right, back in our preview, Dustin predicted that Michael Penix would eventually take over. I think you predicted much sooner than this, but
Yeah, I was
So-
thinking it'd be an injury. I think it'd be a week 4 injury or something. But yes.
yeah. Mhm.
I think that it's kind of a double-edged sword here. I think it's too early to toss Penix in there. I think we all kind of work along the logic that we should give our quarterbacks a couple years to develop and grow. So I feel like it's a little too early to toss him in there. But at the same time, you can't have a guy go 1-9. You can't. I don't care. I'll make my punter play quarterback before I let somebody underperform like that. That's insane. So I guess you don't have a choice, but it kind of sucks that you have to burn a little rubber off the tires before you're ready to for Penix. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I wonder if this might be really a topic for another time, but my thought is I wonder if the game has changed so much in a way where pocket passer quarterbacks are a disadvantage in the league now. Because perhaps the defensive linemen are faster or quicker or whatever it is. But the truth of it is like the quarterback model coming out of the manufacturer high schools is really a dual threat quarterback at this point. And so that's just the norm. And we see it all over the place. And so I'm almost wondering if a pocket passer quarterback can't be a good quarterback in this league anymore, or if that's going to be the case in 10 years from now, if it's not already the case. But I think, we're seeing this invasion, if you will, of dual threat quarterbacks. And that's the way you need to be in order to operate an offense, at least in the NFL. And that could be a topic another time, I said, but I feel like that's what I'm seeing because Kirk Cousins is definitely a pocket passer quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is a pocket passer quarterback. And all the others, the great ones you can say who all retired within the last 5 years were all the pocket passers. And so now we've got all the Lamar Jacksons, Kyler Murrays, you throw in all the other names, so.
I think you're ahead of your time with that, and I think you're spot on, dude. You couldn't have hit the nail on the head any firmer. That's a genius assessment, in my opinion, of how the game is evolving as it's evolving. For you to pinpoint that and that thought right there was incredible. I think I agree with you 100% that you already see with things like the wildcat formation and all of these things that we're finding success. And I mean, Michael Vick's about to be teaching college football to people. So, I mean, I think we saw the thing that's like, ooh, that's the new Magic Johnson behind the back pass or whatever. That piece that evolved, and then the kids that latched onto that and were like, "Oh, I want to be that dude," and then created their own styles off of what those guys were able to do physically versus what Michael Vick could do physically. And I think you're dead on that. The dinosaur idea of a quarterback holds the ball for 3 seconds and then gets it out to the receiver on the out route because that's what we've written up in the playbook. I mean, dude, yeah, I mean, that sounds great on paper, but when you go out there to build it, you need a guy that's going to make something happen for you, give you a little magic. I like Patrick Mahomes is kind of like a new evolution of that to where you almost expect him to do something crazy, right? And us as fans, I can speak for myself. You expect quarterbacks to scramble when there's that opportunity because they're supposed to be athletes now, also. So yeah, I just wanted to pay homage to that thought and say that I agree with you. And that I think you're definitely right for sure.
Yeah, I was going through in my head the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and I came up with 6 that are still pocket passers. 6 out of 32. However, 2 of them are really good right now. Jared Goff and Sam Darnold. Those are 2 really good pocket passers right now that are setting the world on fire. And so you can still win with that style, but it's not a move around in the pocket for 6 seconds and throw it. It's get the ball out quick. And so that's how they're surviving. That's how they're playing. Matthew Stafford is also a good pocket passer right now. That's still playing well. The other 3 that we've mentioned already: Kirk Cousins, um, Derek Carr, and Aaron Rodgers. Probably not quite to the level they should be. So,
Yeah, Cody, I think it's great. I think you're right. I'm watching the game right now, and the Broncos just ran what's becoming the most popular play, and it's the RPO, but with the quarterback. It's you do a rollout with the quarterback, and you say either pass it or run it. And so often quarterbacks are running, and I saw Bo Nix go for 12 yards and get a first down on a run. You'd be able to get out of bounds as well. That's exactly what you want when your quarterback runs: is get a first down, get out of bounds. And so it works. What I don't like to see is for that to happen 15 times a game. I think it should be more sparingly. I think that it should be more designed. I really like that the evolution of the game is to get the quarterback out of the pocket and get him over the side of the field where he doesn't have all these people in his face so he can see clearly to make a throw. I really like that option, and off of that is this RPO that's really developed.
yeah, there's more I could talk about, but I think we need to move on to college football.
I definitely like that point. We should take down that and put it as a topic for sure, because I like that.
Yeah. Okay, on to college football. We have a little less than an hour to cover a bunch of bowl games, so we're going to move quickly. Do you all see my screen here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm going to need to not be, because I'm going to need to put things in. So these are games that happened a couple days ago that we did offline. Jackson State did beat South Carolina State because of their running back, Irv Mulligan, who we talked about. All of us were correct here. James Madison, they pretty much dominated South Carolina State in that game. South Alabama also beat Western Michigan. All of us were on board with that one as well. South Alabama is explosive. They scored 87 points in a game this season. So that's insane coming from a football team. And Memphis beat West Virginia in a really fun back and forth game, 42-37. And all of us picked that. And so our sweeps worked out. Over here, Yancey, you were left behind. James Madison did beat Western Kentucky a couple days ago, 27-17. And UNLV, as all of us predicted, beat Cal. So right now, 3 of us, me, Dustin, and Cody, are undefeated going into this game. I could lose out depending on, I haven't checked the score, but Sam Houston was up by a little bit. So anyway, so those were checking in on those games that were offline. So now getting to the other ones here that happen. This is starting tomorrow. Ohio versus Jacksonville State. And I do have just a little bit of information about both just to help us kind of choose what we're doing here. Ohio's won 10 plus games for the third straight season now. So they're really, really good. Jacksonville State has won 9 of its last 10 games after starting 0-3. And so they've been on a really hot streak as well. Running back Trey Stewart for Jacksonville State is one of only 2 players in the country to rush for more than 1,600 yards this season. The other one is Ashton Genty. So that's a big deal when it comes to that. So Ohio and Jacksonville State, we're going to start just at the left, and we'll just rotate through. So Cody, Ohio and Jacksonville State, and the cure.
That one's going to be.
I'll try to make this bigger. So
you yeah, that's a little bit better now. Let's go Jacksonville State.
Okay, Dustin.
Ohio.
I'm also going to take Ohio. Yancey.
Ohio.
Okay. All right, the Gasparilla Bowl, Tulane and Florida. Tulane went to the American Athletic Conference Championship for the 3rd straight season. Mekhi Hughes, the running back, back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Florida started horribly at 4-5, but they've now won 3 games in a row, including wins over LSU and Ole Miss. And so 2 big wins for Florida. They're also the youngest roster in the SEC, now has hope for the future after playing really well against 2 good teams. So, Dustin, Tulane and Florida.
I think Tulane plays spoiler to that streak. Tulane.
Okay. I'm going to take Florida in that one. Yancey?
Man, everything in my football heart is upset with me for saying this. Tulane is going to beat Florida.
All right. Cody?
I agree, Tulane.
Yeah. All right. We are now immediately starting to pick college football playoff first round. So because it just happens the way that it in schedules here. So Indiana versus Notre Dame. Indiana in the playoff. They didn't have the strongest schedule, but they finished 2nd in the country in points per game, scoring 43.3 per game. Head coach Kurt Cignetti will win, and I think he actually already has won Coach of the Year. He turned around Indiana in 1 year after coming over from James Madison, got him to the playoff. Just a remarkable job by that coach. Notre Dame also didn't have the best schedule, especially with its only loss coming to Northern Illinois early in the year, if you all remember that. But they won all the remainder of their games, and they finished 3rd in the country in points per game. So you got number 3 and number 2 in points per game. This is probably going to be high scoring. Indiana versus Notre Dame, I'm going to start. And I really, really, really want to say Indiana. So I will. Indiana.
I might be wrong, but I'm going Notre Dame.
Yeah. Cody?
I expect that Indiana's going to win that, but I feel like Notre Dame's going to have a little extra spark.
Mm-hmm.
I also really, really want to say Indiana, so it hurts me to say that Notre Dame is probably going to win this game.
Yeah. Dustin?
It's like a cheesy love song. You and I you.
Ah, get out of here. Get out of here, Dustin.
That was wonderful.
What are you, Pat McAfee?
Okay, more college football playoff. SMU gets in. They ranked 6th in points per game, 20th in yards, 4th in rushing yards allowed. Went to the ACC championship game in its first season. So good offense, good defense. Penn State finished 15th in yards, 8th in points allowed, 6th in yards allowed. They went to the Big Ten championship game. So this is just good offense, good defense, just good teams going up against each other. Yancey?
It's a hard game to pick. I don't know. I like my history untarnished. SMU, baby.
Well, SMU has a pretty bad history too, if you all remember.
How many other coaches were pedophiles?
That's not Yancey. That's
Oops,
me.
sorry. Thanks.
Okay.
Cody, no?
I want you to put that there, but I think it's going to be Penn State in a very, very close game.
Okay. Dustin?
kind of agreeing with Cody. I think that the first half is going to be fantastic. It'll be tied at 14 at halftime, and then Penn State will take away, win 28-17 or something. So Penn State.
Yeah. See, leaving you alone here. I'm picking Penn State to win that game. But okay, third first round game. Clemson won the ACC championship game, so they snuck into the playoff even though they have 3 losses. But they did rank number 12 in yards per game, number 16 in points per game. Texas lost 2 games. Both of them went to Georgia. So they won every game except Georgia, which they lost to twice. So, and they have 2 potential NFL quarterbacks on their roster, Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. So also ranked number 2 in points allowed and number 3 in yards allowed. Very good defense as well. Back to Cody to start.
I think this is going to be the most boring game of them all. I think Texas wins this one easily. It's going to be like 38-13.
Okay, Dustin.
Wish I could say horns down, but Texas wins.
Yeah, I'm feeling a sweep coming along here. Yancey, is that true?
Grab that broom quick, baby. Go Horns.
Oh, okay. All right. And the last first round game, Tennessee against Ohio State. Tennessee is 8th in points per game and yards per game. They're also 4th in yards allowed and 5th in points allowed. So a top 10 in pretty much every category. And they're quiet. You forget that Tennessee is that good, but they are. So Ohio State, best defense in the country, though. Number 1 in points allowed, 10.9 per game, and number 1 in yards allowed per game, 241.1. The offense isn't too shabby either. Obviously, 2 losses this year, 1 to Oregon and 1 to Michigan. So, yeah, Dustin. This is probably going to be the most exciting one, I think. But
yeah, I think it'll be exciting mostly for people that don't like Ohio State. Tennessee wins by 3 touchdowns.
By what?
3 touchdowns. They
3
win by
Okay.
3 points.
I think Tennessee wins, but I think it's going to be really close. Yancey?
I think Ohio State takes this.
Okay. And Cody?
You're all alone, Yancey. It's Tennessee, but Dustin, it's going to be by at most 7.
Okay. So we'll fill out the playoff bracket a little bit, but we're back to just regular bowl games now. Myrtle Beach Bowl. Coastal Carolina against Texas San Antonio. Coastal Carolina scored 40 or more points 5 times this season, but they also scored fewer than 23 times. So they're kind of up and down. UTSA scored at least 38 points in 5 of its last 6 games. So they're hot right now too. I think we're over to me. I'm taking the hot team right now. UTSA wins that one. Yancey?
I agree with you this time. Let's go UTSA on that.
Yeah. Cody?
UTSA as well.
And Dustin?
Let's sweep it.
Okay. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Northern Illinois, who beat Notre Dame this season, and so that was a big shock. But then injuries took their toll. They lost. They went 7-5 after that. But Fresno State is one of the best pass defenses in the country. They have a secondary that could rival anyone in the country. Everywhere else, though, is a bit of a question mark. So, Northern Illinois versus Fresno State. Yancey, you're up.
If you're only strong in one spot, you're weak everywhere. Northern Illinois is going to win this game.
Okay, Cody.
Yeah, Northern Illinois.
I'm going to
Dustin?
go Fresno.
Okay. I'm also going to take Fresno in that one.
Split it.
Yeah. Okay, Hawaii Bowl. Always the Christmas Eve game, the lone game on Christmas Eve. South Florida against San Jose State. South Florida running back Kelly Joyner is a ridiculous X factor. In their 6 wins, he averages 9.4 yards per carry and scored 11 touchdowns. In their 6 losses, he averages 2.9 and didn't score a single touchdown. So he's the X factor. San Jose State has a really strong defense. They rank 18th in the country in rushing defense. And so that goes a long way to maybe not a great matchup for South Florida. But Cody?
I think it's going to be South Florida.
Okay. Dustin?
I thought about this game and I realized that South Florida, it's almost like the other side of the world. So
You're
far
right.
away
Yeah.
flies. I mean, in order to get home on a Christmas Eve flight, it's like a 9-hour flight or something from Hawaii down to Tampa.
Tampa.
They
Yeah.
are. And so for that, I'm gonna give it to San Jose State just as the X factor of like being so far away from home on Christmas Eve. You got to forget that these are still basically children.
Yeah. I'm taking San Jose State as well. I just think it's a bad matchup for that running game with a really good run defense that they have.
I think along the same lines, and I'm also going to take into account that Dustin mentioned.
Yep. Okay. This is the Game Above Sports Bowl in Detroit, Michigan. Pittsburgh against Toledo. Pittsburgh had a weird season. It was 7-0 at one time, and then lost all 5 of their last game each of their last 5 games. So 7-0, and then 0-5. It's a tale of 2 halves. Toledo, 2 explosive receivers that combined for almost 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. So really good collection of receivers. And Pittsburgh that had a really weird season. I think we're over to Dustin, right? I don't know where we are now. But
6 games in a row.
6 games in a row. Okay, so Toledo. I will also take Toledo in that game.
Yeah. You can't play like that half a season and convince me you're going to play good in the playoffs.
Cody?
Yeah, sweep it.
Okay. All right, the Rate Bowl. Rutgers against Kansas State. Rutgers running back Kyle Monangai has now rushed for more than 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. He will be drafted in the NFL. He's still deciding whether he's going to play or not. So that will come into play there. Kansas State defensive end Brendan Mott leads the Big 12 with 8.5 sacks this season. Also has a fumble recovery and interception, and was named the Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year. So Rutgers and Kansas State were over to me. I'm going to go KSU. K-State. Yancey?
Yeah, K-State. K-State.
Okay. Cody?
K-State, baby.
And Dustin.
Sweep it.
Okay.
We're either going to look mighty foolish or mighty smart.
Yeah. Okay, 68 Ventures Bowl, Arkansas State and Bowling Green. Arkansas State head coach Butch Jones has now taken 4 different programs to bowl games. And so he just signed a contract with the Red Wolves through 2029. He'll be there a while. Bowling Green tight end Harold Fannin will probably be the first tight end drafted in the NFL. He is the best tight end in the country this year. He leads all tight ends with 100 catches, 1,342 yards, and 9 touchdowns. An excellent player at tight end.
Holy crap.
So, yeah. Over to Yancey.
I like a better coach than a better team, so I'm going to take Arkansas State for that reason.
Okay. Cody?
I'm going opposite. I'm going Bowling Green because the tight end. I've seen what good tight ends can do in a game. So,
Dustin?
I think I'll say Arkansas State here.
Is that loyalty or thought?
Thought.
Just curious.
I'm going to leave you alone, Cody.
all right.
All right. Armed Forces Bowl, Oklahoma and Navy. Interesting matchup. Oklahoma 6-6 is not normal for the Sooners. They've struggled all season on offense. They've scored 17 or fewer points in 5 of their 8 games in the SEC. They've struggled in the SEC. Navy won its first 6 games of the season, all by double digits, but then scored 14 or fewer points in all 3 of its losses. So, kind of a difficult one to pick here. Cody?
I'm going to take the ingenuity of Navy and see that they pull this one out.
Yeah, they're not as much of a only option offense, but they still do that a lot. So, Dustin?
I think Oklahoma's not going to really care too much about being in this bowl game, so I'm going to go Navy as well.
That's kind of my thought too, Dustin. I wasn't sure Oklahoma cares. So.
Holy cow, a Navy sweep against Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
Didn't think I saw that coming.
Okay.
I just don't. I think along the same lines of you guys, like Oklahoma's like, dude, for what? Well, I don't even care.
Yeah, their basketball team just beat Michigan last night, so that's what they're gonna be caring about.
Yeah, right. They already scrapped that season.
Yeah.
Okay, the Birmingham Bowl. Georgia Tech upset number 4 Miami at that time and then took Georgia to 8 overtimes before losing. They're a very dangerous team. Watch out for Georgia Tech. Vanderbilt had a great turnaround season. They were 1-11 last year, and they were 6-6. They included an upset win over Alabama for the first time in 40 years. Can they get a first winning season since 2013 if they win this game? Over to Dustin.
Your question of Vanderbilt? Nope, sure can't. Georgia Tech.
Yeah, sorry, Dad.
You know, they did a great thing against Alabama, but they ain't gonna do that against Georgia Tech.
Yeah. Cody?
I'm going Vandy on this one, actually. If Diago Pavia is at quarterback, you can't count him out.
Okay. The Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech. They ended up beating both teams that played for the Big 12 championship. They beat Arizona State, they beat Iowa State, but they also lost 3 of their last 4 games down the stretch. Running back Taj Brooks will be an NFL player next year. He's rushed for more than 3,000 yards in the last 2 seasons total. Great player. Arkansas pulled a huge upset over Tennessee at home, who's in the playoff, obviously, but they couldn't quite get the momentum to have more than that, so they finished 6-6. My turn. If Taj Brooks plays, I don't know if he will, but if he does, Texas Tech wins that game. So
Texas Tech.
Cody?
Do we know if Jaquindon Jackson's playing for Arkansas? I know he declared for the draft already. Does that mean he's out?
Not necessarily, no. But
Dang, that's gonna be hard.
I would assume though.
I'm going for Texas Tech then.
yeah. Dustin?
Do you know that Arkansas has had like 26 players hit the transfer portal since the end of the season? They're leading by like some crazy number. It's the most number of players in the country. Yeah, so Texas Tech for sure.
Okay.
Geez, what is the coach like? Locking them in a closet with a wet water hose or something? Like, why is everybody bouncing from Arkansas?
Doesn't matter what he's doing because he ain't gonna be doing it much longer. That's for sure.
You believe that? I believe that, Cody. Doesn't matter what he's doing; he won't be doing it long.
No, this is Arkansas, not Penn State.
Don't compare Sam Pittman to Joe Paterno. What are you doing?
Come on, give him another 30 years. I'm sure he'll stop.
Sure, he'll stop. No, they get worse with age.
Holiday Bowl, Syracuse. Quarterback Kyle McCord, who transferred from Ohio State this year, leads the country in passing yards, 4,326 this year. Also 29 touchdowns against just 12 interceptions. Washington State went 8-1 to start the season, but then lost its last 3 games. John Mateer is one of the most exciting, entertaining players in the country. He threw for 29 touchdowns and ran for 15 more. He's a great player. This could be a fun game. We're over to Yancey.
I'm going to take Syracuse here just because I like the momentum shift. That's not positive for Washington State.
Cody?
I'm taking Syracuse, and that's mainly because John Mateer is actually transferred to Oklahoma, so I don't think he's playing that game.
That's a good piece of news to have. Dustin?
Also Syracuse.
Yeah, with that news, I'll take Syracuse too. So, Las Vegas Bowl, USC. Lincoln Riley isn't doing good over there. He in his 3 seasons there, he went from 11-3 to 8-5 to 6-6. So it's getting worse every year. Texas A&M defensive end Nick Scourton is a first-round pick this coming draft. He has 14 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, a host of other quarterback pressures. Leads that team. USC and Texas A&M. Cody.
I think Texas A&M is winning this one by 3 touchdowns.
Okay. Cody or Dustin? Sorry.
Texas A&M. I'd agree with Cody on score probably.
USC pulled it out last year after not really caring, but they're not going to do that against A&M.
We all agree.
Yeah. Okay. The Fenway Bowl, UConn. The turnaround is complete. They were one of college football's most embarrassing teams for a long time, and they've now been to a bowl game in 2 of the last 3 years. So UConn's good again. North Carolina, Mac Brown is out as head coach after a disappointing season, and in steps Bill Belichick, the 6-time Super Bowl winning coach. He's obviously not going to coach this bowl game, but no matter what happens in this game, it doesn't matter. That's the story. So
Right.
UConn and North Carolina. Dustin.
I think North Carolina will show out for their new coach.
Okay. I think exactly the opposite. I don't think they worry about this one anymore. They're only worried about next year. So UConn.
Yeah, they're 6-6. UConn.
Okay. Cody.
Leaving you alone, Dustin. Going UConn. If for nothing else, just for congratulations, UConn. You've done a turnaround.
Okay. The Pinstripe Bowl, Boston College, under head coach Bill O'Brien. Boston College has a dynamic duo in the backfield, combined for 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. And Nebraska is playing in a bowl game for the first time since 2016, which ended the longest drought in NCAA football. So, over to crap. Where was I?
Dustin.
I think you're yourself now, actually.
I think it's myself. Yeah, that's right. I'm taking BC to win that game. Yancey.
Same.
Okay. Cody.
I'm taking Bill O'Brien over what's his face there at Nebraska.
Matt Rule.
That's it, Matt Rule.
Yeah. Dustin.
Yeah, Boston College.
Okay. And they're playing close to home too. I mean, they're in New York. Everyone hates Boston in New York, but still, they're close to home, I guess. But the New Mexico Bowl, Louisiana had a 6-game winning streak this season. Got back to double-digit wins. TCU, obviously, we talked about them earlier 2 years ago. They were in the national championship game. They are a top 10 passing offense, but they rank 90th in rushing yards. So that's pretty much all they do is pass the ball. Yancey.
That's not diverse enough to win games. Let's go Raging Cajuns.
Okay. Cody.
Yeah, Louisiana.
Okay. Dustin.
TCU. I think they have enough talent on their team. They'll be able to win out.
I'm going to split it. TCU. Pop-Tarts Bowl, Iowa State. The Cyclones are already having the best season in school history. They have a pair of 1,000-yard receivers, 2 of them. And so really good offense there. Miami, we all know they started 9-0, they finished 10-2, and they didn't get into the playoff. And so are they interested in playing in this bowl game after not making the playoff? That's a good question for Cody.
You know what? I think this is going to be Miami. I think we saw that Iowa State's pretty overrated. I think Miami will be talented enough to do it.
Okay, Dustin.
You know, Miami lets a lot of points go. They won a lot of games, but it was always a super high scoring game. I don't think they can survive against another high powered offense like Iowa State. So Iowa State.
I'm along the same lines. I don't know if Cam Ward is playing or not. Does anyone know? So for Miami. So yeah.
Don't know, but would doubt it. You are not going to convince me that Iowa State is beating Miami. Let's go.
Another split there. Okay. All right. The Arizona Bowl. Miami of Ohio started 1-4, but finished winning 7 straight games, but then lost the conference championship game. Colorado State finished with a winning record for the first time since 2017. My alma mater, if I can say that. I got my master's from there. So go CSU. And it is Dustin's turn to pick first, though.
What the heck is Snoop Dogg doing sponsoring a football game?
I don't know. Good question.
He's in everything now. I guess. I don't know. Maybe he's got a habit he's supporting. I don't know. But I'm gonna go with Miami here.
I can't pick against my alma mater in this one. Go CSU. Yancey?
I think Colorado State pulls this one out.
Okay. Cody?
I think we're leaving Dustin alone here.
Okay.
My girl is gonna love the fact that Snoop Dogg has his own bowl game. I just gotta say that on the record.
Yeah. The Military Bowl. East Carolina is now in a bowl game for the third time in 4 seasons after they fired their head coach, Mike Houston. So they have an interim head coach that's leading them this way. North Carolina State, Davin Van leads the country with 6 forced fumbles this year. Also added 14 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. He's going to the NFL. East Carolina against NC State. North Carolina Bowl. Both teams from North Carolina playing in Maryland. My turn. NC State wins this game. Sorry, East Carolina.
I care very little about both of these teams. East Carolina has a cooler mascot, so they will win.
They do have a cool mascot.
Yeah. Cody
But regardless of their mascot, it will be NC State.
and Dustin.
I'm gonna split it just to be fun.
Okay. The Valero Alamo Bowl, my other alma mater, where I got my my bachelor's. And for some reason, I don't know why this is happening, but 2 Big 12 teams playing against each other in the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
should not be happening.
So BYU doubled last season's win total. They were 5-7 last year. They got to 10-2 this year, to get to 10 wins for the third time under Kalani Sitake. He has been extended for like life. I think he was just signed to a 10-year extension at BYU. So they won their first 9 games, ranked number 6 in the country before they lost 2 of their last 3. Colorado also completed a great turnaround, going from 4 wins to 9 this year. And they have the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter, who will play in this bowl game, along with quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who could potentially be the number 1 overall draft pick in next year's draft. So both are playing. Over to Yancey.
I'm gonna go with Colorado in this one. Coach Prime. I like Coach Prime, what he did there.
Yeah. Cody?
While I agree that it shouldn't be 2 Big 12 teams, they didn't meet during the regular season, and this is a very interesting game. So I am excited for it. With that being said, Colorado is going to win this game, I think.
Dustin?
Yeah, I think Coach Prime gets all his players to play, and they all play well.
Yeah. I hate to see that line without a BYU logo on it, but unfortunately, that's what I'm going to do. So I think Colorado wins that game. Yeah.
BYU was really good this year, though. 10-2
Yeah.
is a remarkable record, especially for BYU.
Yeah.
Their quarterback was fantastic.
He was fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, honorable mentions all around. I just don't think that they beat a primed and ready, full set Colorado team right now with all that momentum with them.
Right, ready.
Oh, I'm sorry. That pun just slipped in there.
I could be wrong. Maybe you know better, Scott, but I think BYU has a receiver that's going to go pretty high in the draft, Darius Lassiter.
Yeah. I think he's projected as a 2nd rounder right now. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's good.
Mm-hmm. Independence Bowl. Marshall. Mike Green is the Sun Belt Player of the Year. He led the country with 21 tackles for loss and 16 sacks. He's going to be a 1st-round pick out of Marshall. Army won 11 games for the 2nd time in program history. So 2 good teams here, Marshall and Army. Going with Cody first.
Oh wait, hold on. Marshall actually had to opt out of the bowl game because
that's right, they did
because their transfer
because everyone left.
Yeah, everyone left. It is
Who is
now. Don't I know this one?
I remember that now, but
Tulsa, I think, or something.
no, that doesn't sound right.
Let me see.
Somebody Google it.
Hold on. What kind of millennial bull crap is that? You can just say, well, we don't have a team anymore. I'm sorry.
Hey,
We
they're
can't
all
play in
Gen
the bowl.
Zs.
Dude, I don't care. I'm grabbing towel boys. I'm grabbing the guy that brings us water.
Louisiana
Guess what?
Tech.
You're a tight end now.
Louisiana Tech.
That's crazy.
Did
What's
you
their
hear?
record?
Yeah, I'm looking that up. Right
They're
now.
5-7.
Oh, this is going to be a shellacking.
Yeah, so because they opted out, they had to find, I guess, what you considered the best 5-7 team. So I guess Louisiana Tech got that somehow. So
Yeah, don't know how that works, but
I don't know.
I'm just really quick. Not that we're actually going to use this logo because I think it's going to be a sweep, but
Yeah.
I'm still going to put it up just for sake here. I'm not going to worry about writing something about them. I'm going to say that LT, the only losing team in the bowl game. So, okay. Uh, over to you, Cody.
All right. With that being said, Army wins this game.
Okay. Okay, Dustin.
Yeah, let's not discredit Army. Like
Mhm.
11-2.
They were a good team.
And fantastic team. The fact that who they're paired up against, I hope they go out there and win 40-0. But, Army deserves to be able to put out a real good show.
Yeah, I just filled in. I'm thinking it's going to be that way. Yancey, am I wrong?
No, not at all, dude.
Okay.
It would be disrespectful to Army. I hope
Army
for
fans, they call it a massacre.
hope for our country's sake that that Army can beat a 5-17.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
This is not Afghanistan. Their Army will win.
Oh, come on, give them another 20 years. They could do it. Sorry.
Isn't that supposed to be Vietnam?
Sorry.
Okay, Music City Bowl, Iowa. A typical Iowa team. They ranked 10th in defense, but had offensive challenges. Their running back, though, Caleb Johnson, is a Doak Walker Award finalist, but he won't play in this game. Missouri could have 10 win seasons in back-to-back years. Wide receiver Luther Burden is a Biletnikoff Award finalist, and he also will not play in this game. So two of the best players in the country will not play in this game. That's too bad. Dustin?
Do you want to just leave it blank? Like,
who gives a crap? But
yeah, I'll say Missouri just for their proximity's sake to me. But yeah, I'm going to say the same thing about the next one too. So
yeah,
I think
Yancey?
Missouri.
Okay.
Do you
And
think
Cody?
they install a rule where it's like you have to play for the college you're still going to because we're losing money because all you jerks are going to the NFL?
I'm gonna go with Iowa just because I hate SEC bias.
Okay. ReliaQuest Bowl, Alabama. They had losses to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, and those doomed their playoff chances. They did beat Georgia, though, earlier in the season. Michigan beat Ohio State. That was obviously huge. They're a defending national champion. Their kicker is the best in the country. He has 7 field goals of 50 plus. So Alabama and Michigan. Over to me. I guess it's me. Yeah, sorry. Michigan. Alabama's winning that game. Yancey?
I feel like we could get better randomizers out of Dustin's cell phone. Let's go Alabama.
Cody?
Unfortunately, Alabama.
And Dustin?
I'll say Alabama too, but something funny to comment. I don't know if you saw it. The Alabama athletic director made a post after they were excluded from the playoff, talking about how they need to better look at their non-conference games in order to be more competitive. And then people responded like, all your losses came during conference play.
Right. You won all your non-conference games. Sit down.
Yeah, it was just complaining for the sake of complaining. I was like, man, you need to go to college, man. Don't just work there.
And they won all their non-conference games because they played someone called Mercer.
Yeah.
In November, yeah.
Right.
That's like me talking about my fight career and then being like, you're only talking about the times I got beat up, dude. I'm really good. I'm telling you.
No, I'm really good when I win. And I'm
Yeah, but you gotta come to one of the ones I win. Like, let me fight a short guy. I'll show you.
Right. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Louisville went 7-1 in games at which was favored, and then went 1-3 against the tough ACC teams that played. Washington, the defending runner-up to the national title last year, obviously took a big step back, but 6-6 this year. I don't remember where we are. Anyone remember who started?
I'll go. I went
Okay.
last time, so
Okay.
I'll say Louisville here.
Okay. And that means it's me. I'm actually going to take Washington to win this game.
Wow.
Strongly disagree. That's going to Louisville, I believe.
Yeah, we're leaving you alone, Scott. This is Louisville. There's
Okay.
no surprise here that Washington took a step back.
Yeah, I think it's an upset. I'll say that. The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. South Carolina is one of the hottest teams in the country. They've now won 6 straight games. They have a chance to have its first 10-win season since 2013. Quarterback Lenora Sellers is a Mack truck. He's 6'3", 250 pounds, and he runs over people. It's really fun to watch him play. Illinois has also a chance to win 10 games for the first time since 2001. Quarterback Luke Altmaier is as clutch as they come. He's the only quarterback in the country with 3 game-winning touchdown passes in the final 2 minutes or overtime. That's me. Wow, I'm going to take South Carolina, though. They're just really hot right now, like Hansel.
Stupid. That's such a stupid joke, but I love it. Like Hansel, you slid that in so casually. Give me South Carolina. Get out of here.
Cody
Same, South Carolina.
and Dustin.
Yeah, what they call the other USC.
Yeah. The Texas Bowl. Baylor, who's in Texas, obviously not. They're on the other side of the state, but which is a big state. So, but Baylor completed a great turnaround season. They only won 3 games last year. They won 6 straight games to get to this point. LSU at one point was 6-1, ranked number 8 in the country. Finished 2-3 down the stretch, though. Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier is pondering whether he's playing in this game. Whether he's going to the is pondering going to the NFL draft, but said he will play in this bowl game. Cody.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I think LSU is actually closer to this bowl site than Baylor is.
That's probably true. Yeah.
So, but I'm going LSU.
Dustin.
Yeah, Baylor was 0-4 in games that they lost, and LSU was 8-0 in games that they won. So I'm going to go LSU.
Man, that cup was a little too big for you, Dustin. You better calm down, buddy. He's going to turn into John Madden right in front of us. You see, the team that wins more games is the winning team, and the team that loses games is, well, losers. LSU.
Yancey. Okay.
Also, all these bowl games are like named for me. Where's the pizza and weed bowl?
How about Tax Slayer? Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
I don't pay those.
Duke has worked a miracle. They've won 9 games this year after losing their head coach at the end of last year. Their offense is built on explosive plays from quarterback Malik Murphy and a very mauling pass-blocking offensive line. Ole Miss leads the country in tackles for loss, behind a defensive front who all 4 will probably be in the NFL next season. So you have really strong defensive line, maybe the best in the country, against a really good offensive line here. Dustin.
Yeah, I know Cody calls it SEC bias, but to only lose 3 games in the SEC, it's great. So I'm going Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss dominates this one, honestly.
Looks like a mismatch to me, Ole Miss.
Yeah. Cody?
It will be Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I want Duke. I mean, cool. Duke beat Ole Miss, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. First Responder Bowl, North Texas against Texas State. North Texas started 5-1 and finished 1-5. Texas State averaged 37.1 points per game, good for 10th in the country. So that's pretty good. I think it's over to me. Texas State has the momentum. They're a really good offense. They're winning this game.
Is it too soon to name this the Waco Bowl? Texas State.
The what bowl? What did you say?
Waco. Look it up. The ATF did some wacky stuff to people.
All right, no, I won't look it up. But I'm going to go Texas State.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, get the sweep. Texas State.
Okay. Duke's Mayo Bowl. Minnesota beat USC, Illinois, and Wisconsin and nearly beat Penn State this year. Cat. Get out of here.
What'd you call me?
Their defense is one of the stronger ones in the country. Virginia Tech, extremely disappointing. A few of us picked Virginia Tech to be in the playoff this year. Yancey and I think in particular, and they've gone 6-6. They lost to Vanderbilt and Rutgers. They've just been disappointing. But over to, oh shoot, who is it? Yancey, I think.
Deuce Mayo Bowl. I don't know who's playing in it, but I know I don't want to put my hand in it. Minnesota.
Cody.
I just wonder if Will Levis will be there sponsoring anything. So,
Oh,
but with that being said, I think this is a Minnesota.
I didn't know if that was a dirty joke or just weird.
But
He
it
eats
made me
mayonnaise.
laugh, and I like that.
Dustin.
Minnesota, yeah.
We've got 3 sweeps on this screen. So, okay, I think this is the last one. The Bahamas Bowl in Nassau. Buffalo against Liberty. Buffalo's a very strong defense. Linebacker Sean Dolak leads the country in tackles, 159 this year, to go along with 5 interceptions, 16.5 tackles for loss, and a pick 6. He is a fantastic linebacker. Liberty, they were undefeated last year, and they started this year 5-0 before finishing 3-3. So over to Cody to finish us up.
I'm gonna go Buffalo.
Dustin.
I'll go Liberty.
I'm also on the Buffalo train. Yancey.
Liberty. Do you ever forget we own stuff? Like the Bahamas?
Right. Obviously, these will be figured out later. The Fiesta Bowl, Boise State is number 3 there. They're going to be fun to watch. Ashton Genty, Heisman Trophy runner-up. Chick-fil-A Bowl, Arizona State, probably the hottest team in the country right now. They've won 6 straight games, 3 of which came against top 20 teams at the time, Kansas State, BYU, and Iowa State. And they won the Big 12 championship game. They were picked to finish dead last in the conference by most people, and they won it. So, and they're led by a great running back of their own, Cam Scatabo, which is just fun to say. And then the Rose Bowl, Oregon, they're the only undefeated team in the country, and they've earned it. They've beat 3 other teams who are currently in the playoff. They've beat Boise State, Ohio State, and Penn State. So I don't know if they can be beat. And then the Sugar Bowl, Georgia, they didn't have as dominant a season as fans have become used to. They had convincing losses to Alabama and Ole Miss, but they also won 4 games against fellow college football participants, Clemson, Tennessee, and Texas twice. So those are the 4 teams with buys.
And just one thing to add, I just got an ESPN notification that Georgia is preparing to play without Carson Beck, a quarterback.
Oh, okay.
That affects some stuff.
Yeah. So we won't pick this, obviously, because we don't know who this TBD will be. But we'll look at this later when we do our college football final thing. But this is what the playoff looks like. So obviously, Oregon is waiting for the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee. Arizona State's waiting for the winner of Texas and Clemson. Boise State will play either Penn State or SMU, and Georgia will play Notre Dame or Indiana. So we will likely pick these offline since we're not going to be meeting next week, and maybe not the week after either. We'll talk about that as well. But I'm going to stop share so we can see each other. Even though I can't see you. There you are. Okay. So we finished a few minutes early. Dustin, do you want to do one of your PTIs?
Yeah, we could do one of the PTIs. I think I'm trying to remember which one was most disagreeable. But
Travis Hunter, I think.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner. We're not talking about whether he deserved it. We're talking about his next step, which is going to the NFL whenever he does that. And I am of the opinion, you're welcome to agree with me, that a good cornerback is more highly valued than a good wide receiver. And as such, him as a good cornerback will play defense. That he'll have offensive possessions. He'll be a punt returner, kick returner. maybe brought in for jet sweeps and occasional offensive plays, but his primary position in the NFL will be as the cornerback because that's a higher value position. It's more important to find a good cornerback than it is to find a good wide receiver. Disagree with me, prove me wrong.
I'll go first, but I can't disagree with you. I completely 100% agree. A cornerback is a good cornerback is much more difficult to find than a good receiver. And in this draft, I mean, you can look at it. There's a lot of good receivers that you can choose, but there's a limited amount of good, reliable corners that you can choose, especially one who has been as dynamic and instinctual as Travis Hunter. So I would say it would be a monumental fail if they draft him as a receiver, to be honest. He needs to be playing defense.
I disagree. I mean, he's great at both. Obviously, that's one of the reasons he won a Heisman. But I think he's a better receiver than he is a cornerback. I mean, looking at his numbers, he led the Big 12. He had 92 catches this year for 14 touchdowns, both of which led the Big 12 and were one of the leaders in the country. Obviously, Colorado does nothing but throw the ball, and so you're going to get a little bit more of that with them. But the way that he dominated from the receiver position was more impactful than the way he dominated from a defensive standpoint. I think he was also great as a cornerback, and he could be drafted either way and play either way and dominate either way in the NFL. I think he could do both. He's only going to play one side of the ball. You're not going to do that in the NFL. But I think I think the NFL, I disagree with you, Dustin. I do. I think the NFL values playmakers over play stoppers. I really do. And so I think, especially in today's NFL, I think they would be doing him a disservice and doing a team a disservice by drafting Travis Hunter and saying all of that playmaking you made in college, no more of that. You're going to go to the defense. And so I think he's going to be drafted as a wide receiver, and that's where he should play.
Yeah, when I look at this, when I was assessing how I kind of feel about the overall situation, I had to disagree because I like the way that Scott said the numbers don't really support that. Like if you look at his defensive stats, he was not near as impactful on the defensive side of the ball as he was on the offensive side of the ball, getting into the end zone. When he had four defensive touchdowns and 14 or 15 on offense.
He had 4 interceptions. I don't think he had
4 interceptions, not 4 touchdowns. So
he didn't have a touchdown. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a huge difference, and I am kind of in the mindset that even though to me defense is more important, the NFL values offense more, and I think he'll be introduced as a kick returner, a slot receiver, and maybe like as more of a ticket sales move. A team will put him on defense a couple plays in a game, but he will not start both sides of the ball or by any means. But I do see that as a gimmick that a coach might take advantage of and play to, because the GM tells him to. I don't know who specifically that would be, but I definitely would say that he can help any team more on the offensive side of the ball than he can on the defensive side of the ball, and that's just proven through numbers alone, stats alone, since he had shared time and we could know, you know what I mean? It speaks for itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, good points. But I think for exactly the reasons you stated, Yancey, he's going to play defense because they can bring him in as an offense and say, run that way. Like, that's your job. Run that way, catch the ball. There's the training and the instincts and everything that you have to train a cornerback to do. It's a lot. And for them to move as one part of the defense, it's a lot. And so I don't think you can bring in somebody and say, go play cornerback a few plays, but you can have them go play wide receiver a few plays with little coaching, as far as getting them in sync with the offense. It's more of a gimmick there that can create a wrinkle that can confuse defenses. And so
I concede to that point. I would say that that's a valid point. That's a good counter argument to that. And I'd accept that as a super valid counterpoint. We all just have to kind of see how it goes. But I like that you presented it like that with with that added caveat of it would be kind of easier to plug him in on offense than it would be to plug him in on defense. I do accept that point.
See that as well. And like Yancey, I was just going to say, it'll be fascinating to see. I don't know. Has he declared? I don't think he has yet. He might be returning next year. He's only a sophomore, and so maybe no. I think he's a junior.
I think he has to be a junior. Let me check though.
Yeah, he's a junior. He was a freshman at Jackson State. So he's a junior. So I mean, I don't think he's declared yet, but so it'll be fascinating whether it's this coming draft or the one after. We know he's going to play in the NFL, and we know he's probably going to be a first-round pick, probably a top 10 pick. It'll be fascinating to see which side of the ball. So, okay, Dustin, we'll get to your other PTIs whenever we meet next, whether that's in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but beginning of the year or New Year's, and we'll talk about that offline unless everyone has an opinion right now. We don't meet in 2 weeks or not. But
I say we just handle it in the text.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks everyone, and Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, everybody.